coverage on the water, you're going to see guys using forward-facing sonar because, hey, that's only fair. That's how they qualified. There are 42 anglers in this championship. It's the top 40 of AOY, the regular season event winners, and our defending NPFL Championship winner, Brandon Perkins. Tonight's guests are J. Todd Tucker. We've got Matt Shell from Anderson County, Jason Burrows, and Brandon Perkins, the defending champ. Right now, I want to introduce my friend J. Todd Tucker from Moultrie, Georgia. It's his second year with the NPFL, and not only did he qualify for the championship in his rookie season of 2024, but just last weekend he qualified for next year's championship as well. J. Todd, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Ken. I'm glad to be here.
This is exciting for me because, well, A, you're one of my favorite pros. I've always admired you. You're such a nice guy, such a great talent, and I enjoy seeing guys who I admire and support qualify for the big derbies.
Oh, it is a challenge. You just have to be consistent. So consistent all year, and competition level's gotten quite a bit steeper, and it's gotten even tougher. But just making good decisions on the water, and I've been fortunate to do that for the last couple of years.
Oh, you've been remarkably solid the last couple of years, and you're from Moultrie, Georgia, which is South Georgia, but you're not too far from Lake Hartwell. Have you been to Lake Hartwell a lot in your career?
Not a lot. We were here last year, and then we were here for the first forum sponsor deal. So, and then but before that, I even had to ask my dad how long ago it had been. It had been a long time, but I just enjoy Lake Hartwell fishing. I did fish Lanier a lot.
There you go.
And so I have that experience with spotted bass lakes.
Yeah, Lanier is pretty similar. It's another deep, clear, midland type impoundment with herring and stuff like that, and a lot of spotted bass, as you say.
Yeah. They're almost exactly alike, it seems like to me. They fish a lot alike. Lanier's probably on the largemouth side. We were there during the spawn last year in another, not this event, but a different event, and it was absolutely amazing to see how many largemouth that Lanier has in it, and how many big ones too.
Oh, it does, and well,
Hartwell has big largemouth as well.
It absolutely does, and one of the things I think that's interesting about spotted bass fisheries in the U.S., I call it the spotification of America, J. Todd, because it seems like as our reservoirs get older and clearer and less fertile, spotted bass kind of take over.
They do, they're just so aggressive. It's hard for a lot of other fish to compete with them. And they eat a lot of the smaller, even the smaller bass. They eat a lot of the smaller shad, bluegill, things of that nature before they get, big enough to feed a 7, 8, 10-pound largemouth. So it's hard for a largemouth to compete with a spotted bass. But these spotted bass, as long as the herring has been introduced into the lake, do really, really well. And it becomes a better fishery. And some of the lakes that don't have herring, but Lake Martin actually had Perry put in a few years ago, and it's really done a lot better. So you see the size of those fish start increasing as well. So if the spotted bass lakes are managed by the state properly, they become just phenomenal.
One thing I love about spotted bass, I want to get your take on this, is they are a biting fish. I mean, you put a bait around them, they're going to peck at it, follow it. Maybe you get a lot more interested in it than a typical largemouth would. Yeah,
and they're quick to close their mouth too. I tell you, I saw a lot of it today, even just coming up and trying to commit, and then they decommit. And you see a lot of that today. I don't know why we saw that today, but it seemed like it was all over the lake. So for some reason, a spotted bass lake, and I've known this for years, it can just turn off. The switch can just turn completely off, and your practice it's just a different day on the water. So it's going to be interesting, especially this time of year, to see how well it fishes for 3 days.
You mentioned this time of year, and I wonder if you agree with me, but to me, the early fall in the South is one of the toughest times to put together a great pattern and bring a big bag to the scales.
It's tough. I mean, it's really tough in South Georgia and in different lakes like that we have all over the state. But Lanier and Hartwell actually fish pretty good in the fall, considering some of the other lakes that we have available to us locally.
Now, you mentioned looking at them, and I assume you're talking about your forward-facing sonar unit that you've had to put away for 6 regular season tournaments, and now you got to pick it up again. Do you feel like you're a little rusty with it?
Oh, I'm very rusty with it. I actually took mine. I only fish just the 6 or 7 weeks a year, and I don't really have time to fish anymore like I used to. But I actually had my transducer in a foam wrapped up underneath my graph, and then had it zip tied all year. So I didn't even have it on the boat, the trolling motor, because I didn't want to knock it off, and mess it up. But so anyway, I put it back on yesterday or Sunday before I left Lake Martin, and I spent the last day and a half. Finally got it right at lunch today, but the compass is stuck in the transducer. So when you go to calibrate it, it won't calibrate. Well, I didn't know that. And so, therefore, I wound up getting a hold of Scott at Bass Tank, and he really helped me out a lot, and I was able to take it out of automatic stabilization mode and put it into manual mode. And so when you see your lines going downhill like this and your transducers, it looks like your transducer's not right, you can stabilize it manually. I didn't know that. So I learned a lot today just through the mechanics of part of running one. But then once I got it right, then I was like, oh, it's like a light came on. I got pretty excited then. And so I had a half a day really of a good solid live scoping, and I'm going to go out tomorrow and do it again. So.
Is this tournament likely to be won by somebody scoping?
I'm sure it is. Ken, I just, like I said, I don't get a chance to do it very often, and now I just kind of dedicated this tournament to it.
Yeah.
And the reason I say that is because it's like going sight fishing when they're on the bed. I mean, you commit to it, and I'm going to commit to it whether I do good or whether I do bad. But I'm going to come out of this tournament with either doing good with it or learning from it, one of the two.
You just brought up another one of my favorite topics at championship tournament time of year. J. Todd, you said you're going to commit to it. You're not fishing for points this week. There's, if you win, there's a massive payday. If you finish last, there's a small payday, but there's a payday no matter where you finish. Do you approach a tournament like this where there are no points at stake differently than you approach a regular season event?
I feel like I do. I mean, I just feel more comfortable, I guess. I'm not on edge as much. I'm out there having fun. Of course, you always want to win, but I think the tournament's going to be one live scoping. I really do, and that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to keep looking for them and commit to it, and hope for the best, and see if I can. I have used it quite a bit. I just hadn't used it in the last 12 months.
Yeah, 12 months. It's
been a while.
Time.
It's taken me a little casting and things like that.
You're knocking the rust off, man. You're ready to win this derby.
Mm-hmm. And not to mention, we've had 2 really windy days, so the casting has been a challenge in the first place just because of the wind, and it's pretty rough out there today.
Now, J. Todd and I booked his appearance on the show a couple of weeks ago, but last night I run into him at the tackle shop where we did live scope. And, here's a guy with more tackle than you can shake a stick at, looking for those last few little items to help him seal the deal. How often do you go to a tackle shop in the middle of practice?
Oh, man, I think we all do.
It wasn't like J. Todd was the only pro there.
We're all just kind of tackle junkies. We're all trying to come up with something, different or something new. And it's just kind of bred into us, I think, as fishermen. And it's just part of it. It's fun. It's fun for us.
Now, I know this derby, because of the forward-facing element, is not necessarily your style. How would you describe your style of bass fishing and tournament fishing in particular? And I'm going to be mean to you, J. Todd. Don't use the word versatile.
Well, my style that I like the best is sight fishing. And with forward-face sonar, it's kind of like sight fishing.
It really is, yeah.
In some ways. But I really like the sight fish. That's one of my strengths. As far as like being competitive throughout the year, a lot of times, just like last week, I started out throwing a shaky head on docks, and I had a really good practice the very first day, very first morning.
This is on Logan Martin.
It's on Logan Martin, sorry.
Which is full of docks.
So it was solid, even to the point where I could kind of call my shots on the dock, on which dock I wanted to fish. Well, then, lo and behold, the last day of practice, I get on a flipping bite in the grass. And the flipping bite and the frog bite got me. It really did. And I stuck with it for 2 days. I finally put it down and picked my shaky head back up and caught 13.5, 13.3 or something like that.
Which is a fabulous bag.
I should have been doing
on
that
Logan Martin at this time of year. Well, you had a solid tournament. You locked up another appearance in the championship for 2026.
That was
we're going to be putting that schedule out pretty soon, and hopefully it's going to align with the way you like to fish and get out there. All right, I want to ask you some tough questions too. So I know a little bit about your strengths as a tournament pro. Outstanding, world-class sight fisherman. I think of you as a strong, shallow water guy, a heavy cover guy. What would be your weakness as a pro?
My weakness would honestly drop shotting. I don't know why, but it just, for some reason, I just haven't. Wacky worm, I wouldn't be sitting here right now if it hadn't been for a wacky worm. I mean, I skip that sucker everywhere, throw it on beds. I just do everything with it, and it's got me out of a bind more times than I can imagine. But for some reason, a drop shot is something I hadn't really done very well with.
We had Daryl Robertson on Roundtable last night, and Daryl is 75 years old, so he's got about a quarter century on you. And the wacky worm has been his main go-to for 30-plus years. Before the Senko, it was the trick worm or trick worm style baits, things like that. Mm-hmm. So it's amazing. If I were trying to teach somebody how to catch a fish now, I think I'd start with a wacky stick worm.
Well, anytime I did, if I was working with high school kids or anything like that, that's the first thing I would teach them. And it's to throw a wacky worm and how to skip it and how to put it in places that you can't normally put other baits. But it's just got such a slow fall. It's a natural presentation, and bass just can't stand it. It looks like a bluegill. It looks like a crawdad, whatever.
Yeah, you pick your color and it falls down. To me, what it looks like is something small enough to fit in their mouth and that it is not going to get away.
It just matches everything, I think, and to a fish, I think it just matches everything, and it's just a natural presentation that they can't stand.
Okay, so you're not crazy about drop shotting?
I'm just not very good at it. I'm not. I love it. Don't get me wrong. I've caught fish doing it, but I'm not just the best at it.
Now you mentioned the wacky worm and stuff like that. Would you say that is your favorite technique?
Probably.
Okay, I want to dive into that.
Other than I like punching. I'm a puncher. Seminole, we got a lot of matted grass. I kind of feel like I've kind of dialed that in a little bit, and there's a lot more to punching matted grass than a lot of people know.
Then let's talk about that. First of all, tell me your setup. What's your rod, reel, line for most of your punching?
Well, most of the punching, it depends on the vegetation. So hydrilla, for instance, we'd go 65-pound braid. Let's say if you were.
Do you worry about the noise? I know a lot of pros worry about the noise.
That's what I was getting to. Not with a hydrilla. Now with your reeds, like if you're flipping reeds at Okeechobee, a lot of times you may have to go to
fluorocarbon or maybe a 16 carrier braid. That smooths things out a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit. I ran into, I don't know how many guys have fished water chestnuts, but up in New York we ran into a situation where I was flipping water chestnuts on Lake Champlain. I was all the way down past Ticonderoga, and I was flipping braid. Well, the first day of the tournament, I lost so many fish, and I couldn't figure out why. I'd bring them up to the top of those water chestnuts, and they would just hang up and get off. Swapped to fluorocarbon, 25-pound test fluorocarbon the next day, landed every one of those fish. So there's a lot to be said for that when it comes to flip and cover. There are so many things that you can do to increase your hookup ratio or catch ratio.
Do you ever use braid with a fluoro leader when you're punching?
No.
Good for you, sir.
No,
good for you. Well, I can't answer what the issue was when the fluorocarbon took care of your problem there, but to me, I don't think line size bothers fish under that kind of matted canopy cover.
It's not so much the line size as it is like with the water chestnuts, with the braid, you didn't give them any time to do anything. With the fluorocarbon, they grab it, they have time to go down, they wrestle around a little bit. You're not just pulling them straight out of the mat.
Gotcha.
And when they come out, their mouth's closed. Does that make sense?
It does.
If you snatch their head off, just like in hydrilla mats, at Lake Seminole, we have hydrilla mats that are 18 foot of water up under them. So the mat itself is really thick, and we've had to dig them out. We've actually had to take a 3-prong rake. My dad used to carry one. We take a 3-prong rake and dig those bass out from underneath those mats because it's so hard to get them back up. Because when you pull on them really hard, their mouth opens and they get trapped. and you can't get them through there. But if you wrestle them around a little bit, they'll keep their mouth closed, then they'll come up through that hole.
What's your rod and reel combo for most of your punching?
I use a 7.6 heavy, extra heavy, 65-pound braid, and 7-to-3 ratio.
7-3. Okay, I know for a lot of guys who are punching, pitching, flipping, they like a really high gear ratio reel. Do you sacrifice something in reel strength when you go to the higher gear ratios?
When I'm setting the hook, when I'm punching, I don't snatch on them. I literally reel. I reel hard into them. I get it real heavy before I ever start pulling. Setting the hook too hard with these 1.5 ounce weights just doesn't seem to be very successful. Just start reeling, let it load up really heavy, and then just pull as hard as you can. Gotcha. That's the way I set the hook with these mats, and it seems to be more successful.
And of course, punching, you're talking about weights that are 1 ounce and up for the most part, right?
That's right.
And obviously, that's going to be tungsten. Any special tips? I'm assuming you're pegging your weight.
Absolutely, yeah. You about have to.
Yeah.
But just to keep the weight and the bait together, to go through the mat.
There seems to be a split between a lot of anglers on whether they snell a punching hook or do you snell?
I snell it because of the way I set the hook. When I start reeling into them instead of just,
gotcha.
it makes a lot better hook set when you're snelling on it.
Yeah, if you snell a hook, folks, and you do it the proper way, with the hook facing down, and then you run the line through the eye, that hook will pop up.
It's almost like a trigger.
Yeah, it's exactly like a trigger.
It's a trigger. When you pull on it, it pops up, and it gets the bait. It gets the point of the hook out away from that weight.
Yes. And I know a lot of guys who love that, obviously. It makes a lot of sense. It's going to put the hook in a great position to penetrate the jaw of that fish. But on the other hand, I live in Florida where punching is practically a religion.
Yes.
And a lot of guys don't like that feature because it creates a situation where you're more likely to wear out the bait and you're going to get hung up more.
If you were asked Bobby Lane if he did, he'd say, no, absolutely not.
Exactly.
But I do. I've had very good success with it, and especially at Lake Seminole when our hydrilla is really, really thick mats. Our Gunnersville, either one.
Strange question. I don't think of Lake Hartwell as presenting any punching opportunities, but maybe there's some trash or something floating up.
No, there's really not much of that at all. Lake's down a little bit. It's like 3 foot low, so a lot of that's. Now we did at Douglas. There was a lot of flipping in Douglas when the water was high.
That's right. The water was really high, and sometimes you get a lot of vegetation or trash that has been picked up.
But that was more not punching, as per se, is like a 1/2 ounce lead going through a log mat.
Yeah.
Trash mat is what we call them.
All right. What needs to happen in this derby for J. Todd Tucker to come out with the big trophy? It's a gorgeous trophy, by the way.
I know. Yeah, I would love to win it. I'm just going to go. I'm doing something that I'm familiar with, but not familiar with. So I'm not necessarily fishing my strengths, but I'm fishing the style that I think is going to take the win. And I don't feel like that. There's going to be somebody probably in the top 10, that aren't scoping, but it's going to be tough to beat. Especially these guys that are in this field right now. We have some really good scopers in this field.
There's some very talented.
And some of the guys didn't fish this year that are here.
Exactly. Some of the guys who left after NPFL decided they were going to prohibit forward-facing sonar, they're back for this event, and they're going to be a threat to win, certainly. Well, J. Todd Tucker, my friend, I wish you all the luck out there.
Thank you.
Fish clean. I know you're going to fish hard, and I'd love to see you hoist that trophy on Sunday.
Well, thank you. I appreciate you having me.
It was an honor, sir.
Right.
And we're going to let you get back out there because you got one more day of practice to get dialed in.
One more day of practice to kind of cross my T's and dots my I's and make sure all my equipment's ready to go. And then I guess we're going to have a championship dinner tomorrow. So we've got our Hawaiian shirts, and Lisa's got her Hawaiian outfit ready. So we're going to show up in style.
That's fantastic. I'm looking forward to that. Looking forward to seeing you when you're not wearing a jersey. I always see you in a jersey.
Yeah, well, you won't tomorrow.
Thank you, J. Todd.
All right,
and good luck out there, man. Appreciate you. Hey, folks, our next guest, a special guest. This guy's not fishing the tournament, but you know what? In a lot of ways, he is the man who is helping us to have the best possible tournament event. His name is Matt Shell. He is the Anderson County Parks Manager and has been for some time now. Matt, welcome to the show.
Appreciate you, Ken. Thanks for having me.
Now, first of all, I think we all have an idea of what a parks manager does. You're responsible for the facilities out there and making sure that they fill the community needs and so forth. But and I know you've got a degree in landscape architecture from Clemson, so you got a lot of education, a lot of experience. But tell us a little bit more about what your role is.
Well, Ken, Anderson County has 40 parks across our land.
Wow.
So we run from two rivers, from Little River over to what's Lake Hartwell, and so we try to balance recreation for all the communities, all the 6-7 districts that are in our area.
I tell you, I don't know of a community in the country that is more bass tournament, bass angler friendly than what you have created here in Anderson County. So kudos to you, sir, and thank you for the support to our industry.
Sure, yeah. Anderson County is Green Pond is a fishing first facility, so it's a lakeside civic center, lakeside venue for tournament fishing. So we're very proud of that. On the Little River, we have a kayaking corridor which has ADA accessible kayak launch as well, and we do try to promote fishing there also.
That's fantastic. And you guys have had multiple major events here. You know, this is the second ever NPFL Championship, and we're coming here. We've had a couple of events here in the past, I think in 2022, 2024. There have been Bassmaster Classics here. This is a real significant destination in the world of bass fishing.
It is. Hartwell's really come on the map here in the past 10 years, which is about, Green Pond celebrated its 10th anniversary this past December. It's a huge testament to the public-private partnership, but also to the working relationship of county, state, and federal dollars.
Now, I understand you've got some projects in the works. I guess you've always had projects in the works, but anything you want to share with us about what's coming up in this area?
So up and coming, Green Pond right now, actually, we just had contractors during this tournament. We've been having contractors mobilize to bring power to the amphitheater, which is going to bring some much-needed power rather than bringing generators and running long spider boxes and cords. We're actually going to have power down at the amphitheater, as well as street lights and parking lights along the weigh-in road that we can control. So that's really exciting because we actually started that about 3 years ago, and just unfortunately running out of funding. It's pretty expensive to build things, especially by water. It's
a beautiful area, and I was out at the amphitheater earlier today because we originally planned to do this show from there. But, if it rains or if the wind blows hard, suddenly our equipment is in danger, or the sound is not what we want it to be. So we decided to come back here to the studio. Appreciate your coming out here, but it's a gorgeous spot.
It is a gorgeous spot, and so aside from the power project that we're working on right now, we do have an ongoing ramp and dock expansion project of the East Lane. So we're forever working towards the full completion of Green Pond on the ramp and dock perspective, which is 3 additional launch lanes to help get traffic in and out of the water as fast as possible. Because as you know from being here before, we can back up and have a log jam all the way out to Green Pond Baptist Church. So trying to help alleviate some of the traffic congestion, those 3 launch lanes will be very well received. And then alongside the ramp will be another L dock. So it's another 350 foot of dock space.
Courtesy dock type.
Courtesy dock, correct.
That's fabulous. Yeah, there's not a lot I think that you guys can do better. It's nice to hear that you're expanding what you already have. I mean, I think that's got to be the next step, but you guys are already next level.
And we appreciate that. And we do hear a lot about how we rank or how we compare across the country. And it is very flattering. It's also very rewarding, but it's also what drives Anderson County to continue to invest, because we're on the front side of the curve with a lot of what we're doing. We're not the only ones on the curve now or on the map. There's a lot of people, a lot of different communities starting to see and implement.
Well, we just came from Logan Martin Lake in Alabama, and I've not seen 2 better facilities for bass tournaments on a large scale than what you have at Green Pond and what Logan Martin has at Lincoln's Landing. I think those are the 2 premier places I've seen, and I've seen a few through the years. So I think it's great. You mentioned to me earlier, I don't even know if we got it on this segment here, but you mentioned to me earlier that you and your staff will travel around the country and look and see maybe not what the competition is doing, but what other people in the similar space are doing.
Right. So when and Neil Paul, we work hand in hand on the tournaments, from the recruiting aspect to the marketing and to the networking. But we travel a lot together to different events, and we do shop around to see just really the majestic views that you have from a lot of these boat ramps and facilities, and what communities are putting into, what communities are supporting, and what we have that others may not, or what we may be able to pick up and implement ourselves.
Yeah, Neil is, what is he, the president of Visit Anderson?
He's executive director of Visit Anderson. So.
Gotcha. And Neil's been here for a number of years, maybe not as long as you, though, right?
Correct. I started a few years before him. I met Neil when he started with Visit Anderson. He was coming in. He's come up into the position of executive director, but his depth professionally and personally in bass fishing is really what steps him out there and really in the lane by himself.
Yeah, you guys are leaders in this space for sure. Although, Neil, you know what I feel about the Bass Fishing Hall of Fame. I'll leave that alone. But kudos to you both. You guys do great work, and it's a tribute to the fine work you do that all the major tournament organizations want to come here and experience not just the great facilities that you have on Lake Hartwell, but the wonderful hospitality in Anderson, South Carolina, and surrounding areas. It's really something else. And if you're just out and interested in catching some bass and willing to make a little bit of a road trip, come on out to Green Pond Landing. It's amazing. Matt, thank you so much.
Absolutely.
We really appreciate your time, your hospitality, and your facilities. They are second to none.
Thank you for shining a light on us once again.
Absolutely my pleasure. Absolutely my pleasure. Well, I'll let you go. I'm waiting for my next guest. I hope he's out there somewhere. Is Jason Burrows in the house? I'm going to put out an all-points bulletin for Jason Burrows. But if Jason is not out there, I can tell you all a few more things about the championship that's coming up that you may not know. And here comes Brad Fuller. And Brad is holding a chair for Jason Burrows. That's the kind of first-class treatment you get in the NPFL when the president of the league is escorting you to your seat at the Roundtable. Jason Burrows, welcome to Roundtable, my friend. Good to see you. I wanted you on this show for a variety of reasons. I'm a fan of Jason Burrows, okay?
Well, thanks.
I'm a fan of you, and I know what an outstanding angler you are. But also, I mean, hey, let's talk the elephant in the room here. You are pretty much the pre-tournament favorite to win this thing.
That's for y'all that don't know about my past from the fall.
Okay, now, all right. There may be something to that because you dominate on Lake Hartwell, especially in the spring, but at other times of the year. But maybe the fall it's not your kryptonite. That wouldn't be fair.
That's pretty fair.
No, but perhaps what might be true is that whatever advantages you have at the other times of the year, you do not have now.
That's for sure. It's definitely different this time of year. It's going to be for sure a scoping tournament. No home field advantage. Like, man, there's fish off every point, every hump. Everybody's catching plenty. And somehow I don't know how to catch the big ones.
Don't let his modesty fool you, folks. This guy is easily one of the very best sticks Lake Hartwell has ever seen. And even though he thinks that his advantage he might have at other times of the year is gone right now, he is still wildly experienced here. He's won a lot of tournaments here, and that has to give you some confidence, doesn't it?
It does. I know. I definitely won't get lost.
Well, there's that.
I told him Brandon's in the other room, Perkins. I think he's going to follow me up, but
Yes.
He walked in. He's like, "For sure, you're going to win, right?" And I was like, "Man, any time but now."
You know, it's interesting because I think Lake Pickwick, I think Brandon Perkins.
That's right.
I think Hartwell, I think Jason Burrows. Now you did not win the last time the NPFL was here, but you have done well. Last time NPFL was here, Mike Corbishley won. You were sixth.
That's right.
That was in May. Is that a period when you feel really strong?
Man, we barely missed it. Like, I catch them up really, really shallow. And when we were here in May, and I can tell you, everybody that asked me before the May tournament, I told them I'd make a top 10, had a chance to win if I got some bite shallow. That shallow bite, when we got back here after it was all but gone. The last day I made a little bit of noise. I caught a 6-pounder, just dirt shallow, and I needed one more bite to get me there. But it was just on life support when we got back. If it would have been just a couple weeks earlier and the heron would have still been up there, I really like my chances. But I do hate it here this time of year. But if they do bite come Friday, I'm going to weigh them in. I don't care what these people say about me saying that I wasn't going to catch them or whatever. If I catch 17 or 18, I'm going to weigh them in.
You're a dangerous man. This derby is not over until you weigh in. All right. I want to tell folks a little bit about your track record with the NPFL. This is your second year. You fished 12 tournaments. You had 4 top 10 finishes. A third of the time you've been in the top 10. That's remarkable. You've got 6 top 20 finishes. Also enormously impressive. You were 6th at Hartwell. You were 6th in AOY this year. So not only are you going to this championship, but you'll be going to the next one as well.
Yeah, look forward to it. That's definitely my goal. Especially with the new guys that were here, some elite company. I actually did make that post after I won. When you look at the top 10 list, I feel like I shouldn't be there, but there's some elite company.
You earned every point, and when you say elite, you mean it with a capital E and a lowercase e, because there's both types of elite in the NPFL, and the names around you, both above you and below you, are a lot of Bassmaster Elite Series anglers, and you, sir, in 6th place in AOI, enormously impressive.
Thank you very much.
I think that's dazzling. Now, I want to talk a little bit about your fishing style, and what it is, and I've done this for you before, but I want to reiterate it. Tell me about your fishing style. Don't use the word versatile.
I like to stay moving. I like to do, to be moving really fast. To me, I think that's going to be a problem for me in this tournament, and I don't know, but I've caught enough of these suspended fish the last 2 days, like a whole bunch of them. I done knocked a hole in the head of a whole bunch of them, and they're just not big enough. So the better ones are probably out even deeper on the bottom, and normally I'm not willing to slow down enough to catch those out. That's 35 to 50 foot.
That deep on the bottom?
I say that you'll definitely see some of that day 2 with the camera. Somebody will unlock that, but
is there no thermocline out here?
To me, the lake don't look like it's turned over at all yet. I know. I guess South Carolina, everybody says the lake turns over when they don't catch them, but it's been really cloudy, so you can't really see how green or blue the water is right now. But to me, it still looks good. Fish are still high, in the water column. Caught some fish today, was definitely spitting up heron, so there's still some big bait up there in the 20, 25-foot range. But I say there'll be some fish caught out real deep.
Okay, the way you described your style, that you like to be moving, fish fast, I think of power fishing like that.
For sure.
And I know, because you and I have a mutual friend, Epic Eric Galasso.
That's right.
That means you're a crankbait junkie.
Not really.
No?
No.
How can you be friends with Epic Eric and not be a crankbait junkie?
Eric's a good dude.
He is.
Yeah. I like Eric. And he.
There's an Epic Eric logo right there.
He tries to teach me about throwing crankbaits, but I like to, at example at Logan Martin, man, I locked a whopper plopper in my hand, and I don't know how many times I threw it, but my mom rode with me one day, and she said something about she was timing it, and I was throwing it about 4 times every 15 seconds. And I told her, I said, that's a lot of casts not getting a bite.
Now, you mentioned a cool thing about the NPFL where you can take a family member or somebody out, and they can actually be on the boat with you as you compete, because our safety measure with regard to tournament integrity is the GoPro, and things like that, and polygraph tests as we need them. But I think that's wonderful. And your mom commits to being on the water with you all tournament day?
That's the first time she's went in a long time, like 20 years probably. But she did go at Logan Martin, but she acted like it was the most fun thing she had ever done, and blast and this and that and the other. But it wasn't too much fun, because I asked her, did she want to go back the next day? And she's like, nah, I'm good.
I can get that. I've ridden along with pros in a lot of tournaments, and man, for me it's frustrating because I don't get to make a cast.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that was your mom's issue or just the fact that she's kind of trapped there in the boat and doesn't have a lot of alternatives as to what she can do.
Tired and bad luck, she said.
I'm sure your mom's not bad luck. But let's talk about, okay, you're not a crankbait junkie. If you had to pick one technique that is the core of your style or game in tournaments, what would it be?
This time of year, I'm going to throw a top water bait a whole lot.
Okay.
And then in the spring when I'm, super, strong here, I catch them herring fishing. You can catch them on top water bait. You can catch them on a swim bait. But just hitting really shallow red places really fast and knowing kind of right where the fish are sitting, and you fish them quick, and then you're on to the next one. About the same thing this time of year. Feel like it sets up a lot the same. Just the difference, I don't catch the right size this time of year.
You talk about top water for spots in a herring type lake. I think of pencil poppers. Is that a big part of it?
Smaller top water, like a Ima skimmer or a Sammy, something smaller.
So more like a walking bait. Maybe.
Yeah.
They're spotted bass on a Sammy or a Zara spook or something like that is about as fun as it gets. Those fish will rocket up from 20, 25 feet, maybe knock that lure 6 feet in the air and miss it.
That's right.
Is that one of the ways you are able to target better quality fish? Or do you like a smaller bait?
No, you could catch them before scope. I've won some big stuff here in the fall, but it was before scope. Like you could line up on brush piles and, you put brush out and everybody don't know right where it's at, and you could line up and throw a top water and just lock a top water in your hand and don't have to throw a fluke and just take it and run with it. And you could really get enough fish to bite to do really well. I won my first BFL this exact same time of year, but it was in 2013. So
different game.
Yeah, since
5 years before scope.
Yeah, since that scopes came along, everyone's got thrown at 4 million times by every high schooler and college kid that we've got here.
And you say this is likely to be won by somebody using live scope and focusing on that, and that's their primary method. Give yourself a score as a live scope user, 1 to 10. Where are you?
Probably a 6, maybe.
That's not bad. Is that good enough to win this tournament?
No.
Oh, come on.
We've got some guys. And everybody's been picking. Like I've watched every time NPFL posts, like everybody's picking their top 5, and I don't like any of their picks.
Well, is it because you think they're picking the wrong guys, or are they picking you too often and you're
the wrong guys? They picking me too often, but I like Will Harkins.
There you go.
And I hadn't seen his name on there at all. That would be. I mean, it's so easy. Like, I don't want everybody to be like, "Oh, what about Patrick?" Well, man, Patrick's Patrick. Like,
Patrick's going to be in the hunt.
If you're going to pick somebody other than Patrick. Like
Patrick Walters, AOY this year.
Yeah, like of course Patrick has got a really good chance. He won a Bassmaster Open here. When Scope was here, he was further along than everybody else at the time. Man, Trent Palmer, he's from Lanier.
Trent Palmer, from Cumming, Georgia, almost the shores of Lake Lanier, the north end of Lake Lanier. He's got a lot of experience on waters like these. He is an absolute forward-facing expert.
Yeah, I really, if I had to pick, that would be the 3 I would pick. I would pick Will and I think
Harkins, Walters, Palmer.
That's who I would pick, and no kind of order. Just kind of these fish that's out there suspended. And I guess my best chance, if it doesn't change, I'm gonna be in trouble. Like when I say in trouble, I'm gonna catch 12 or 13 pounds a day because there's just so many fish out there. But it is getting cool.
I talked to several guys yesterday on the show, and a number that kept coming up was 17 to 18 a day, so 51 to 54 pounds. What do you think?
Real strong.
You think If I had the magical powers of giving you 50 pounds, would you take it?
For sure.
But is that enough to win?
Yeah.
So okay, so you're a
It's
little bit
3
more
days.
conservative.
It's 3 days, man, and there's a local tournament that's going to be here Saturday, and somebody might bust a big bag like Shallow one day, but they're not going to win. Like you'll have a camera, in a boat day 2. So that means somebody in the top 5 that y'all get the pleasure of watching them throw a buzzbait and a whopper plopper, but they probably won't have no camera day 3.
I'll go out there and throw a whopper plopper and a buzzbait if somebody wants to put a camera in the boat. I'm ready. I'll do that.
I say whoever makes it, and I'm sure they'll try to prove me wrong, but I say whoever makes it Shallow won't be still around at the end.
Yeah, I get that, and when somebody like Jason Burrows tells me that, I take that to the bank. I mean, I believe you.
Yeah, I mean, the lake's low. There's not a lot of stuff in the water. You're pretty committed to trying to catch fish that's just up there roaming in a wolf pack together. But I don't know. We'll see. I think that there'll be some fish called out extremely deep, like will shock people that there's still fish
on the bottom.
Yeah.
on something like a drop shot.
Yeah, drop shot, shaky head, something like that.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha. And when you say deep, you mentioned earlier 30 to 50. Is that really?
I say so.
Wow.
I say so.
I think of a thermocline setting up shallower than that, and that being that 30 to 50 being an area where there's not a lot of oxygen, and I wouldn't think a lot of active feeding fish. But
there'll still be some out there.
Yeah.
Probably not quite as many bites. Won't be near as fun watching them as watching me catch 42 pounders and have 12 something.
Well, you bring up another point here. In the history of the NPFL, this has been a body of water that has produced a world of fish. Everybody gets a limit. The catching is pretty easy, but big fish have been elusive. As a matter of fact, the lowest average weight for a tournament happened right here at Lake Hartwell last year. It was just less than an ounce over 2 pounds as an average. What's a big fish out here? 5, 6?
There is, for sure. But it just depends. If you go largemouth fishing, yeah, you're looking to swing on one 5 or 6 pounds, but you can easily have one 5.5 or 6 pounds, and at the end of the day, you got two that's 2 pounds that are 1 3/4 pounds that you just didn't get rid of. And the Bassmaster was just here, and there were still fish on the bed, and I would have been totally wrong. Paul Marks won, and he caught, I think, all spots except one. I think he did go to the bank and catch one largemouth off the bed or something, but he strictly went out there and scoped and caught them and on the bottom and caught spots. And
is this one going to be one? Will this tournament be won with all spots?
Probably not.
No.
Probably it depends. If somebody wins strictly on the bottom, probably. But if they win scoping and catching them like on a fluke in a topwater, there'll be mixed.
Jason Burrows, I'm rooting for you.
I appreciate it.
I want you to knock this one out. This is practically home water for you. You're so good out here. This tournament is not over until Jason Burrows weighs in.
Well, my best chance is this cool weather changes. Like if it stays the same, and they're definitely not the right size on the places I'm fishing right now, but there is some big bait up there, and the cool weather, sometimes you can go one day.
There you go.
And they're not there, and then you come back the next day, and they're the right size. So we'll see come Friday. Still got a couple of days for them to get there.
We'll be watching Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and I hope you have a great tournament.
Yeah, man. Thank you.
Thank you, Jason. We appreciate you. Folks, we got one more guest. You know, this has been a great enough show already, in my opinion. I love talking to these guys, getting to talk with J. Todd Tucker, Matt Schell, who's a big part of putting all of this together and making this such a wonderful venue for an event like the NPFL Championship. Jason Burrows, who I think is probably the pre-tournament favorite for anybody who understands his history on this body of water. And my next guest, my last guest of the 2025 NPFL season, Sitting down right here is our defending NPFL champion. His name is Brandon Perkins. Brandon, welcome to Roundtable.
Ken, Duke, it's good to be here. Good to be here. I got to put my Bojangles cup here in sight.
Yeah, you keep it anywhere you want to keep it, man. I'm just thrilled you're here. And I'm thrilled to be talking to you about this because you won the very first NPFL championship last year on Amistad. And here you are defending your title. And you just qualified for the next year's championship.
Yes, sir.
So you're one of 6 guys who is going to fish all 3 of the first 3 championships.
That's pretty neat. I didn't realize that.
That's very neat. I'm not going to test you and ask you who the other 5 are.
I can figure it out.
You can figure it out.
Get a couple? Yeah.
We'll save that for another time. But if you want to try, I can test you now.
No. It would take some serious thought. I'm too tired for serious thought today.
Well, I know you're tired because you've been practicing hard. I know you're tired because you probably had to change the focus of how you prepare for a tournament and how you fish a tournament because you're leading into the first event you fished in the year that's going to allow forward-facing sonar. How tough has that transition been?
So, to be honest, I run Lowrance, so I've got the active target, and I've had my boat for pushing a year now, 6-8 months, and I broke it in right before we went to Santee to start the year. And I have I'm trying to think of what day it was. I guess it was Saturday night, Sunday night, one of the two. I hooked up my active target. So I have not turned one on in forever. If I fished more at home, I would turn it on and utilize it. I just haven't been fishing at Pickwick since last July, so I haven't used it. But it's pretty funny because all my buddies that have scoped with me make fun of me. I'm terrible at it. Well, yesterday I called my brother on the phone and I was like, hey, I'm a scoper now. So I had fun yesterday, but catching some babies, but it was a fun day.
Well, let's talk a little bit about Brandon's history in the NPFL. First of all, he's fished all 5 years of the league. He's missed exactly 1 tournament. And his record he's arguably the GOAT out here. As a matter of fact, if he wins this week on Hartwell, I say this man is the NPFL GOAT because he's got 3 wins, one of them being the championship last year on Amistad. He's had a remarkable season this year. He put together an amazing tournament at Logan Martin to squeak in to the championship for next year. It was only your 2nd place finish that pulled you up into 40th place. You nabbed the last berth in the championship.
Yes. I really didn't even think that it was mathematically possible for me to make the championship. I didn't go in with that goal in mind. I really wanted to close the season out. Winning Logan Martin was the top objective, just like and we talked about it here the other day, like AOY is something that's probably going to be far-fetched the way that I fish, the style that I fish, because I kind of go all in. I had 2 bombs this year. You said, Brandon, you had a good year this year. Well, I had 4 good tournaments and I had 2 bombs. So, it's just my style though. So
this man swings for the fences, folks. He's going to lead the league in home runs, but he's also probably going to lead the league in strikeouts. And there's nothing wrong with that as long as whenever I think of somebody who has your style, and I'm not talking about your angling style and the way you break down a lake or something like that, but you remind me a lot of my friend Denny Brower.
Yep.
Because Denny Brower would go out there and try to win every tournament. And you can't win every tournament, but that's what Denny would try to do. And at the end of the year, maybe he'd won a tournament, maybe he'd won 2 tournaments, but sometimes he'd be on the outside looking in as far as qualifying for a championship. And that's kind of the position you put yourself in. But, my gosh, what a great tournament, Logan Martin. You finished 2nd. You almost win the thing. If you had not had a situation where a fish died, a fish that you could have culled, you would have won.
I think so. So, still, it was a really, really cool week, but ended on a sour note. But the good part about it is making the championship. The tough part is looking at the money difference in 1st and 2nd and contingency money and like what could have been. But, I mean, I feel like Canterbury needed the money a little more than me. He's only won a couple million. He's only won about $10 million bass fishing, so he probably needed it more than I did.
I would stop being so generous if I were you.
Yeah.
All right, I got to talk about this. You have a reputation of not going fishing very often.
Yep.
Tell me about that.
So I live at Pickwick. You can see the water from my house, and I cross the lake about 4 times a day. I cross it going to work, coming back from work, and then typically cross the dam going to a ball game in Savannah or something like that. But the last time that I went fishing at Pickwick was last July for our NPFL. And the time that I went fishing before that at Pickwick was the February or March of the year prior when I won that one. I have too many irons in the fire. Like I'm coaching 2 travel softball teams. I've got a full-time job for Gentiva Healthcare, and whenever I have a moment to spare, I don't want to go hook up the boat. My boat in the garage is a catch-all. Like we have softballs, nets,
Christmas decorations.
Tees. Yes, that's exactly right. So it's a migraine. It's a 2 or 3 hour process to get my boat ready to go. So I just really don't go fishing, and it's hard to stay on top of your game, not getting to go.
That makes me even more impressed with how good you are.
Well, I appreciate that. It really. I have a buddy of mine. He's probably watching right now, Joel Turner. He's kept up with NPFL from the beginning. He's like a top fan, and
That's wonderful.
He is. He actually messaged me, and he was trying to make me feel a little better after Saturday. And he said, "Man, I really think you're one of the goats of NPFL." And he said,
"I've been saying that."
Yes, I mean, everybody knows really like the top weight guys in NPFL history and the top money guys and the winners and all that. I do feel like if I went all in on the fishing deal and said, "Hey, I'm fishing NPFL and something else," that more time on the water, I think I could figure out a way to make a living doing it. But I'd taking time away from the family, being away from home. It's not ideal for me. It's not what I want to do now. 6-8 years down the road, when my girls get in college and move off and forget who dad is, me and Tisha may hit the road and buy a camper and go all in, but we'll see.
Well, you'll still be young enough to do it. You're 44 years old right now. Oof. And the way I look at it, you're in your peak. I think Bass Pros used to be they'd hit their peak around 30, 35, because at that point they've got enough experience to go along with the youth. And I used to say that, and I still maintain that Bass Pros kind of start to tail off at about 45, right. 46. And especially when I look at somebody as accomplished as you are. You've won a lot of tournaments. You've won a lot of money, especially for a guy who doesn't do it full time. Right. You've won the NPFL Championship already, and you're going to go for number 2 this week. When you've climbed all the mountains, I think it's harder to get out of bed in the morning and feel like you got something to prove.
Right. No, I don't disagree with that for sure. I feel like it is easy in life, sports, whatever, exactly what you're saying. It's easy to put it on cruise control and just not work. And I fish hard, like when I do get time to go, but going back to not fishing ever, I feel like I spend the first day of practice everywhere we go, rigging up, getting stuff. Like I look like I had never skipped a jig on a dock last week when we got to Logan Martin on day 1. And then about halfway through day 1, I was like, all right, I can do this again. So it's tough. But at the end of the day, I've chosen the life of family and being at home, and don't regret that. I've enjoyed the heck out of fishing NPFLs. I think 5 years of this, and I've said every year too, I'm done after this year. I'm done after this year, and I just keep coming back.
Don't say that.
Yeah.
I want to see you out here. You're one of my favorite guys to watch, and I enjoy visiting with you. I get it, though, and I think you're making a very smart decision to spend the time with family, because ultimately at the end of when it's all over, that's what you're going to remember, and that's what you're going to appreciate, and you're not going to have the regrets. But I think there's no question that you could do this for a living full time. There's no question about that, because I look at your accolades here. You know, you won the first championship. You've won 3 NPFL events. You're one of 6 guys who've qualified for all 3 of the first championships. You've got 13 top 20 finishes in your career, and that's with your swing for the fences approach, which I think you'd have probably 20 top 20 finishes if you had a little different approach to the game. But your approach works. Your approach probably earns you more money.
Yep. I think you're right on that. I've sat down and weighed that, and I feel like, yes, I could go get more checks every year fishing a little more conservatively. For instance, go back to Lake Norman this year. I think it was stop 2 this year.
Yep.
I had a really strong practice. And I knew what I was doing. The water was warming up, was going away. And I couldn't lay it down. And I think day 2, I weighed in 4 bass. On Norman, you could catch a bass on a shaky head on every dock in that lake.
Nobody had problems catching fish.
Nobody. But Brandon Perkins did. So I just couldn't lay it down. And I knew that magic could happen in 5 minutes, and that's all I needed. And then all of a sudden I got no 5 minutes left and got 4 little babies. So,
well, I tell you, you're out there, you're shooting. You know, we talked about you're a home run hitter, lead the league in homers, maybe lead the league in strikeouts. You're Steph Curry. You're shooting the 3. You know, you're going to pass on the layup. On a fast break, you're going to stop at the 3-point line,
pull up from 3,
and fire it up there. And sometimes you're gonna hit for 3, but your shooting percentage is a little bit lower.
That's right. I agree.
I still admire the approach. I still admire the method of it. You've got a strong history on Hartwell. I was looking at that, and I noticed that in 2022, your finish was 26, which is not phenomenal, but you had the day 1 lead.
Yeah, I had a really good day 1 and a really good day 2. The last day
you only had 613. What the heck happened,
swinging for the
man?
fences. I went out, I think I was like 3 or 4 ounces behind Patrick going into the last day. And I knew that it was going to take a pretty special bag that last day, because what I learned here was Saturdays are different.
Because of the
boat traffic. Saturdays are different here.
Gotcha.
I was catching them up in the dirt, really, really shallow, and I would have done some things different. Hindsight, looking back, I learned some lessons. That was one of those. Getting your teeth kicked in across the country, fishing the Toyotas like I used to. I learned a lot of valuable lessons. Last year when we went to Lake of the Ozarks to close out the year, I did very well there. It had a rough last day, but it was just lost fish. But I did well there from history of getting my butt whipped, making the same learning lessons that I learned here at Hartwell last time, because this is a busy place in May. I think it was April or May, and it was beautiful weather on a Saturday, and there was boats everywhere. So,
well, is this going to be this for the first time NPFL here? We're going Friday, Saturday, Sunday with this one, and it's getting into your deer season time, and people are getting ready for that. But do you think this is kind of the summer's last hurrah for a lot of locals?
I think it very well could be. I guess we fished Saturday. My days are all mixed up. I say life's good when you don't know what day it is. Tell my dad that all the time, because he lives the retired life and plays golf and fishes. But I think it was Saturday we got done with Logan Martin, and I needed to fire up my active target. So I ran over to Lanier on the way here, and it was a last hurrah, because Lanier was bumping. There was boats everywhere. So I feel like that very well could take place here this weekend, and that could shake things up for sure.
Yeah, Lanier's Atlanta's playground, though. It gets a lot. It's the most visited Corps of Engineers lake in the country. I don't think Hartwell's going to be quite that.
Probably not. And I don't think that it's going to be anything like, I was trying to think of the worst places. We went somewhere else once. Oh, we went to Sandusky once on some holiday, Labor Day maybe, and that Saturday was crazy wild. So I don't feel like it's going to be like that, but it could. Even just the way the wind's blown the last 2 days, it's the boat ramp I've put in by my house that we're renting this week has gotten dirtied up just from waves rolling in. So I think just pleasure boaters they'll play a role this weekend, I believe. Oh,
that's very interesting. So you're not an advocate that the tournament season should begin on Memorial Day weekend?
Nope. Only if we're going to Pickwick. Pickwick on Memorial Day weekend's not bad.
That's right in your wheelhouse, man. Another thing that's in your wheelhouse. We did Roundtable last night from a terrific tackle shop called Lake Hartwell Fishing and Marine. If you haven't been out there and you're in the area, please visit. It's a terrific shop. And I picked up an 8-inch mag draft. And the first thing Brad Fuller said to me was, "Oh, that's the Brandon Perkins game right there." Yep. Tell us how you fish a big mag draft. First of all, what is your rod reel line set up for that? I'm taking notes.
Yeah, take notes. It's wild because I think in 22 when we came here to Hartwell was the first time that I'd ever made a cast with a mag draft.
Is that right?
I was trying to think of what year it was in a Toyota series. No, it was not even a Toyota series. It was the TBF National Championship. It was actually the TBF that Joseph Webster won. He won the Living the Dream package, got to go fish the FLW Tour, got a truck boat, all that fun stuff. Well, I was fishing it against him, and I had the most killer practice you could ever have. And I caught him on a big line-through Osprey swim bait.
Sure, yeah.
At Ozarks, and Grand Table Rocks where it was. And in practice, giants. The guy that practiced with me was fishing as a co-angler, and at the meeting, he was causing a scene, telling everybody that I was going to beat everybody by 30 pounds. Home run. Well, I couldn't lay it down. The water got dirty, but I told all my buddies, I'm going to win a big tournament one day on a big swim bait around the spawn. And that's where the mag draft came into play. I throw a big swim bait. Home run guy, the big swim bait catches big ones. And I throw a rock hole rod. They're made in Mississippi, rock hole rods. And I really throw it on their swim bait rod. I think it's a 7-8. It's my buddy Jason Foster's signature rod, but it's a really good swim bait rod. I typically throw either 17 or 20 pound Seaguar fluorocarbon on a Daiwa reel, and I don't really overthink it. I lock it in my hand when I feel like that's the deal, and you may go an hour or two, even 3 without a bite, but when you catch one, typically it's a big one, and it's a perfect strategy for a guy that wants to hit a home run.
And that's what you do so well. And looking at your track record, if somebody were only to tell me that an NPFL tournament got won by 12 pounds, 15 pounds, I'd say, oh, Brandon Perkins. He's the guy who would do that. But I was looking at some of the NPFL records from the championship, these records will not be broken here at Hartwell.
I don't think
a lot more fish are going to get caught, but not the size that you guys were able to rack up in the championship last year. And what was so impressive was you won that particular derby by an outrageous amount. What was I can't even remember what the spread was.
Either. It was that was the coolest week though.
It was stupid. You had 70-something pounds. I think Patrick Walters was second. He had like 55. You won in the teens. If you look at the NPFL records for the biggest margins of victory, I think this man has 3 of the 4 largest margins of victory in NPFL history. It's remarkable. He caught a 10-6 on day 1.
Yeah, how you going to catch a 10-6 and not even get big bass?
Well, Jesse Wise came out and had
crazy.
something to say about that. He caught a 10-9 on the 3rd day, but still, he goes out and he catches a 10-pounder on day 1 and just obliterates everybody. And a matter of fact, that 10-6 you caught on day 1 was part of the heaviest daily catch in NPFL history. At 29.9, or I'm sorry, the heaviest daily catch in the championship, 29.9. And then you backed that up on day 2 with another catch over 21 pounds, and it was just off to the races.
Yep. That was a really cool week. The weights, like you said, here at Hartwell this week we're not at Amistad. Tons more fish here. That championship was special. It'll be one that I remember forever. It was, I feel like my first 2 shields were at Pickwick and in a place where you're supposed to win.
You're expected to win.
That's right. And going out to Amistad, never been out there in my life, not knowing anything about the fishery and being able to figure it out and piece that together, kind of in my brain solidified me as being like, hey, you can do this. And,
no question.
And, so I guess looking back at that championship, I will never be able to forget that, but I would love to go 2 for 2. Let's go. Let's try the 2 for 2 in the championships. It's here for the taking, in my opinion. It is. It's what was there, 42 this week?
There are 42 anglers in the field.
42 anglers in the field this week, and we're on a good fishery, one that I'm confident in, and I think it's going to set up to where, I'm not saying, hey, I've got a realistic shot. I've got a chance this week. Like, I know there's some hammers in this field, but this tournament, honestly, the way that it sets up is a home run tournament, just due to the payout. There's no points here. There's nothing. It's like, hey, pick up whatever and lock it in your hand that you think you got a shot to win. So that kind of fits me right there.
Yeah, as you say, no points. There's no second place is just the first loser in these tournaments, unfortunately. And I like that for you because you have the mentality to push through that.
I agree.
Now, where I think it's tough is if a guy goes out there on day one and he only has 3 fish, then you're dead.
You are.
That tournament is over for you.
No doubt. I agree.
You're fishing just because.
That's right.
You're
fishing for a little bit bigger check on down.
A little bit bigger check, hoping to strike lightning somehow, and that's the risk you're willing to take in your style.
It is. I have no issue. Like we were talking about it at the house last night. I stayed with Timmy Reams. Timmy and Dan Blackert both travel together, and Dan didn't make the championship. So Dustin Perry from last year's fishing staying with us. We were talking about it at the house last night, and they each found a little starting hole, and yesterday during practice, and I'm like, "What kind of weight are you gonna catch this starting hole?" And they're like, "They're 14 inches, like 7 pounds." And I'm like, "I don't want to weigh any of those in, and you don't either. So why are we starting on that?" Like I don't know. I just don't. And honestly, if I found a 7-pound hole just for some peace of mind, I might really start on it. But this is one of those tournaments where I'm not worried. I'm not going to put a 111 spotted bass that is puny in my live well at this one like I did Logan Martin.
I get that. But by the same token, when you're launching on a body of water where you know the fish tend small. By the way, the last time NPFL was here, the average bass weighed less than 2 pounds, 1 ounce. Okay? That's that's the smallest in NPFL history. Okay? Whereas when this man won the championship last year, they averaged the biggest, basically, in NPFL history. So I would encourage you, and I would think the smart play is to go out there and get a limit because you never know how tough it might be for everybody else. And you don't want to lose the tournament on day one.
Yeah, I agree. I just I am, after yesterday, confident that maybe, I don't even want to say a limit won't be an issue. There's a lot of fish. I figured a little something out yesterday to where I could catch decent ones, better than the pound ones anyway, but no big ones. I've not figured out the deal yet for big ones, but we got one more day to get there. So
don't you feel like if you can guarantee yourself 14 pounds and then go hunting Moby Dick, that's how you might be able to win this thing? That
has kind of been my game plan coming in. And yesterday about 2 o'clock, I was like, I figured out how to catch 12 to 14 pounds. And now I spent all of today and I will spend all of tomorrow trying to figure out how to catch a big largemouth or 2 or 3 big spotted bass that are, bigger than the average size. So today was a little tougher for me. I really didn't do a ton of fishing. I did more looking, did more, I guess, digging, hunting, trying to figure out the way to catch a big largemouth. Because I caught largemouth over here in 22 on the big swim bait, but I have not caught largemouth this week yet here. So mostly spotted bass. So I'm going to try to figure out a way to catch a big largemouth.
I think you're going to find it out how to do it. And I think there's an excellent chance that whoever wins this tournament is going to have a day where they don't have more than 14 and a half. What do you think it might take to win?
So prior to coming here, prior to this past weekend, I really felt like 16 and a half, 17 a day would do it. And
so 48, 50, 51 pounds.
I would feel pretty confident with 48 pounds prior to looking at the BFL 2-day weights. And I know those are locals. I know that.
Scoping.
That's right. But we get to do that, and our field is as good as any field of locals. I will say that.
Oh my gosh, yes.
And I know that, and I'll say it at home at Pickwick all the time. These guys in this league came to Pickwick last summer and put it on me, and I was running regular old community stuff, and these guys figured out a way to catch them outside the box, outside the normal community holes. And what Patrick and Drew Cook, some of those guys did last year at Pickwick was phenomenal because they weren't in their normal deal. So knowing that same group of anglers is fishing this championship might even boost those weights up from the BFL 2-day this weekend. And I think it took like 46 pounds. I say 46, 36. So, what is that? almost 18 a day, 17 and a half, almost 18 a day.
Yeah.
That's strong. That's a little bit more than I thought it was going to take. So I really don't know. I would feel comfortable catching 14 pounds of spotted bass and then catching a 4 or 5 pound largemouth each day. I would feel like that would give you a shot anyway.
We have to do something different to catch the 5 pound largemouth than what you're doing to catch the.
I really think so. Unless I were to stumble on, I've got a little pattern figured out. Unless I were to go to a different part of the lake and actually stumble on largemouth doing it, I just haven't been able to do that yet. So,
gotcha. All right, almost last question. The mag draft, the big swim bait thing that you have such a reputation for, you're so good at. What's the thing that the average guy does wrong when he's throwing that bait?
Lays it down. So
I hear that a lot, that the guys don't stick with it, and it extends from the Texas rig to the chatterbait, and now to the big swim bait. But it's hard to gain confidence in a bait you're not having some success with.
It is. I helped a guy out. I'm trying to think of where he went a year or two ago, and I was talking to him about it, and I gave him 2 deals. It was a buddy of mine, and he was going somewhere he had never been, like Ozarks or something. And I said, look, these 2 deals, and the other one was I think I had him throwing a mag draft and then a scope stick with Bill Lewis and the big jerkbait, just scoping. And he laid that thing down, the mag draft and the scope stick, and started throwing an Ed rig. And I'm like, dude, I told you what to do. And that's exactly like, stick with it. He said, well, I've never caught a bass throwing a mag draft in my life. And I'm like, well, I had never caught one till Hartwell in 22 ever. But when that's the deal, it's hard to beat it. And so really, I think I don't do anything fancy with it. Like I can skip it around into slips and openings and things like that. Just put it in your hand and go.
Okay, so you're putting it places a lot of other guys can't put it, maybe.
Well, probably because I've thrown it quite a bit. I really have. Anytime that it lines up water temp wise and just that stage of the spawn that I like, I'll throw it quite a bit. So, and I've had some experience. I threw it a lot at Norman and put it in places that's tough to put.
Will a big swim bait or glide bait be part of your potential arsenal this week?
So that's one thing I have not done.
I like it, by the way, when he starts to smile after I ask a question.
No,
come on.
I mean, no, I'm not a glider. And if I got to go fishing more frequently than I do, that would be something I would dive into. I would probably spend way too much money on glide baits. I don't even own a glide bait. I actually got like 2 or 3, but I don't know how to catch one on them. I have no idea. So
because you've been fishing exactly 17 times this year, the 17 days that we've had competition.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. That's about how many days I have fished. But no, I could see that happening. You've got scope, you've got a good clean water where you've got some good visibility. I could see that
what
playing.
Comes out to take a look.
No doubt. And especially drawing them out and seeing what's there. Even if it's just a tool in practice to maybe pull them off a brush pile and see how big they are on the scope or whatever. But I could see that playing this week.
Okay, that's interesting.
Not for me. I think I'm gonna go a different route this week. But if somebody whips me on a glide, then the next time I go fun fishing, I'm gonna go.
You're gonna have some glide baits.
I'm gonna go glider. I'm gonna get a glider too. So.
All right. Well, folks, there is exactly one man in the field who has a chance to go back to back on the NPFL Championships, and he's right here. It's Brandon Perkins, and I'm rooting for him. I wish you all the luck out there, man. I hope you have a great tournament. You've been a great champion. You continue to be a great champion, and I'm a big fan.
Hey, I appreciate it, Ken. Enjoy it.
I appreciate it. We appreciate you, man. And that's going to do it for this edition of Roundtable. We are live from the NPFL Full Com studio at the Hilton Garden Inn in Anderson, South Carolina. I want to thank all of you folks for joining us, not just this episode, but hopefully you've been with us all year long and enjoying Roundtable, enjoying the NPFL season. Don't forget to visit our website, the nationalprofessionalfishingleague.com. Check out the great apparel there. If you go, you can check out the store. There's all kinds of stuff there. There are caps like the one I'm wearing. There are T-shirts, sweatshirts, hoodies. There's even stuff for little tiny kids. Go there and support the league that way. We call it wearing the pride, and it's a big deal. Our championship, 2025 NPFL Championship, begins Friday, October 3rd. Don't forget, these anglers qualified in 2024 under 2024 rules, which means that live scope is going to be in play. Folks are going to be using forward-facing sonar. Our live coverage is going to be all 3 days this week. In the championship, we got live coverage every day. So Friday, Saturday, Sunday, you're going to be able to enjoy Luke Duncan and Fat Cat Newton right here in the NPFL studio. Of course, our weigh-ins are also live, and that's Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And that's where you're going to see Big Al McCullough. I don't think anybody does it better than Big Al. He always brings the boom. To watch Al is to admire the work he does on the show. If you're in the area, we're in Anderson, South Carolina. We're going to be out at legendary Green Pond Landing. I hope you'll come out and check out the weigh-in, meet some of the anglers, get some autographs, talk fishing. You're going to enjoy these guys, I think, as much as I do. I not only admire these guys for what they're able to do with a rod and reel, but I enjoy them as people. They're a lot of fun, and they're pursuing their dreams, and that's a lot of fun to watch. My name is Ken Duke. That's going to do it for Roundtable 2025. But there's always reasons to visit the NPFL website, so I hope you'll check it out at thenationalprofessionalfishingleague.com. We've got how-to stuff in there. We've got columns from the anglers. We've got video. We've got all the records from the league in there. You can learn more about the sport, catch more fish, and you'll be supporting the best organization in the industry. Got a lot of big plans for the rest of 2025. Got making 2026 is going to be the best season the NPFL has ever had. And the website is a great way to keep up to speed with what's going on in the NPFL. Everybody needs to be on the lookout for our 2026 tournament schedule, which is coming out very soon. We've got some other major announcements coming down the pike as well, and a big, bold new content plan for the next season. Until next time, I'm just going to say what I like to say to every fish that I miss. I will catch you next time.